G'day everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we're filming episode 7 of the Jimny Restoration and Rebuild series. Now in the last episode you saw me fit the kingpin shims to the front wheels of the Jimny, and that's actually fixed the death wobble, which is fantastic. But since then we've had a problem with the radiator. It's basically spewing coolant all over the engine, which is no good. So what are we doing today, Luca?
So today we picked up a new radiator. This one's aftermarket. We're going to whip this one in and we're also going to change some of these old hoses, the thermostat and the water pump, just in time for summer.
Let's get into it.
Right, so before we remove that old radiator, we've drained all the old coolant out. Now we're going to put this guy in with a bit of distilled water. We're going to then run the car for about 10 minutes and then drain all of this out, and that's going to hopefully get a bunch of the gunk that's been sitting inside the engine out together with the radiator. Then we're going to repeat that one more time with a bit of distilled water just to get any remaining pieces out. Then we can get rid of this. How does that sound?
Sounds brilliant. Let's do it.
Let's send it. Right, so now when we're under the car and with some safety glasses after an earlier incident, we're going to loosen the drain and Bradley, you're going to record all the beautiful bits that come out. You ready?
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Right, it is also going to be a little bit on the warm side, so I'm going to try my darndest not to put my arm in harm's way. The way they've put the plug, you have to have your hand underneath it, which is just silly, Bradley. All right, ready? What colour do you reckon it's going to be? Are we taking any bets?
Bit of brown.
Bit of brown, bit of rust. Oh, here we go. Oh. Yep, all right. Oh, that's gone on my face. Oh, that's splashy. Yep, beautiful. Yum. Sweet like the sunrise. Should I like full send it? I've kind of just half sent it.
Yeah, oh, definitely. I thought you fully sent it.
Yeah, but it's splashing all over me, Bradley. This is why I said you needed to buy a hoist under this garage. Ah, oh goodness me. It's literally, oh crikey. This is not ideal. Oh,
Nice.
there we go. It's actually quite clean. It's actually not as bad as I thought it would be, but it's still not great, is it? There's also like a puddle under the vehicle, but you don't mind, do you? Chris won't mind.
It's not Chris's garage anymore.
Well, precisely. Right, so with that radiator and the system flush with the flushing liquid flush. Right, so with the system flushed, now we're going to do the final flush with the David Gray distilled water. Thank you very much, David, for providing that one.
You put the drain plug back in.
Oh, sugar. Yeah, I did. I'm going to put 4 of David's finest litres in here. Doesn't matter if you don't fully fill it up. We're just using distilled water because you don't want tap water leaving all the impurities. And Bradley, we might also get some bubbles while we're running it, which is the air escaping from the system. Heater's on again on full. Oh, it's purring like an absolute kitten. You can see where the radiator's busted and it's been spitting coolant out. What's been happening is it's probably been hitting the fan under the fan shroud here and just spitting all over the engine. That's why you see it flicking like this. But here, see how you can see it's split, starting to split from the top casing. So anyway, we got a new nice radiator to go in. Come and take this radiator out. I'll point and you undo. Deal?
Roger. Where are we starting, Chief?
So I reckon take this top radiator hose off.
So we've just got some pliers, basically. Just going to wiggle the hose off. We're actually replacing the clamp and the hose, so I'm just going to pull the whole lot off, to be honest. Beautiful. So we've got the other end of it just here on the engine block.
You're not jiggling enough.
It's very crusty.
You're doing the wiggling, but you're not jiggling. You know what they say about a tradesman and his tools?
There we go, that's working.
We started on a Friday, now it's Monday the following week.
That is looking pretty crusty though, that hose.
Yeah. And then show that to the folks at home. All right, while I'm here, I'm going to loosen off this bolt, which is holding the radiator on this side. There's probably going to be some lower down, but we'll get to that.
We probably need to keep those bolts as well, hey?
Agree, yeah. In the factory service manual, it says to remove the cowl, but the fan's in the way. Sometimes it just takes a bit of wiggling and jiggling, just like on a dance floor.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hang on, I got one more. Don't get too excited. Oh, I've split a glove.
These really don't look good either. This has got like really shredded threads on it.
Ooh, wonderful. Same again on the other side.
Did you get the little nut?
Does the new radiator have them? pre-installed?
Yeah, it does.
Beauty.
Yeah,
Cool.
Roger. This is really a bit rubbish, isn't it?
It's a bit rubbish. While Bradley's doing that, I'll explain the bottom. So there'll be a lower radiator hose as well that we have to loosen. It'll have a clip similar to the top. And there's also your transmission lines. So your automatic transmission cooler will be part of this radiator, and we have to actually loosen those off.
Do you want to show that on the radiator, on the new one?
Oh yeah, that's a good idea. See, bro, I knew there was a reason I did these videos with you. These are the ones I'm talking about at the bottom. So the radiator sits in like this, and we're gonna have to loosen these ones down below.
If you've got an automatic.
Yeah, that's true. Do you want to get under the vehicle and,
I'd love to.
try and feed me the cow?
Going in. Oh, can I get the paper towel? Oh, there's a bit of drippage down here.
Drippage in the village?
Wow, there's a lot of pink down here.
Yep.
Yeah, we've got a couple of bolts holding the bottom of the shroud on. Can I get a 10mm ratcheting spanner, please?
Only because you asked so nicely.
Oh, that's the way.
So is the cowl in 2 pieces, you reckon?
I think it's just one.
Okay. You might actually be able to remove the radiator before the cowl.
The shroud should come out, I think.
Yeah, but I've got no clearance, Bradley.
Right, well, it is loose
the fan's
anyway.
in the way.
Roger.
So I don't know who wrote the FSM, but it's in the wrong order.
What does it say?
Drain cooling system. Remove radiator shroud. Disconnect water hoses from radiator. What? So you can't even do that because there's a hose right on top. Yeah, anyway. It's all right. It's all right. I won't get angry.
You've just heard me removing the 2 lower radiator shroud bolts, which was just here and just here. And now I'm going to go about removing the lower radiator hose and the 2 automatic transmission hoses. So I'm going to start with that lower rad hose, which is on the right side of the car at the bottom of the radiator, in quite an awkward spot.
Lucky you're an awkward guy.
So I've got my needle nose pliers and I've got my drain pan set up underneath because we might get a bit come out. Apologies for the camera angles, it's a very awkward spot to get into. Definitely a hoist would make this easier.
A great man always knows when to ask for help.
I don't need help.
I have a Christmas lunch I have to get to.
I've just seen where the other end of this hose is. It's even worse.
Through the magic of television, it will be removed.
What I'm going to do, we're going to change tactics here. I'm going to take the ATF hose off because it's kind of in the way of my access to the radiator hose. This is so shit.
Do you think if I brought your purse, it would help?
Just hit it with your purse. That's it. Like 99% of the comments on Facebook pages when someone can't do something. Ready?
If you say so.
That's actually mostly coming out the bottom of the radiator. At least the ATF looks nice and red.
That's because we keep having to fill it.
It's a constant oil change, as they call it.
All right, can you do the same on the other one, but just a little bit faster?
This is so shockingly bad. Oh, goodness me. Hang on, we might be on here, boys.
There we go.
Yes. Good. I'll hold the radiator, you pull the hose. Are you ready?
Yep. Can you hold the radiator too?
Yep. Yep. Keep going. It's moving. It's off.
Whoo!
Nice.
Teamwork makes the dream work, baby.
Pro tip, just have 4 hands. In a quick 4 hours, you can have your radiator out. If you do what I'm doing here with the screwdriver, just make sure you're not scratching the barb. I mean, we're replacing the radiator anyway here, so it doesn't really matter. But I can't have my arm and the drain pan in the same place.
Well, now the drain pan, you're literally just filming the drain pan.
Okay, can you move the drain pan? Ready? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, it's moving. Yeah, good stuff.
Alrighty.
Right, so I'm going to put this hose, you might have seen I've put the other one up here so it doesn't leak. Right now there's ATF just pouring out of that line. So I'm going to put it up nice and high as well. This needs to be higher than I thought. The radiator sits down into little mounts at the bottom where my thumb is there. So I'm just pushing the radiator up out of the mount. Yeah, I think it's free now. Alrighty, so that just came out like a dream. One thing we should have mentioned is we emptied this bottle. Well, it's nearly empty. Can you just pour that on some bushes or something? We're not going to need that for the next
That's just
little
water,
while.
by the way.
Yeah.
Not coolant. Don't pour coolant on your bushes.
Yeah, don't pour coolant on your bushes. It's just distilled water. Next, I'm going to just remove this hose which connects to the overflow bottle. So I'm just going to pull that off the top of the radiator. You can replace this, but we don't have a replacement today, so we're just going to reuse that with the bottle. The radiator should be free to come out. I think we've got to get the shroud out of the way a little bit. The drain plug's hanging up.
Go now.
Yep.
Okay, we'll clear this side.
Yeah, beautiful.
Like a glove. Not quite like a
So
glove.
it's just this was getting stuck at the bottom. That's all right. There's a bit of water still in there.
Fabuloso.
All right, and then we can pull the shroud out as well.
See what I mean? Like, how would you have possibly gotten that out? Doesn't make sense.
We're going to clean this up and reuse it. It's covered in pink stuff at the moment.
So, as we explained earlier, this is what's going on.
Lots of coolant sprayed over everything. Lovely.
Cool. Let's clean this up and get to the water pump.
All right, Luca, let's crack on. We've still got lots to remove. So we're going to start by getting rid of the air intake tubing off the airbox, just so that we can get a bit easier view as well. But we do need that out of the way ultimately to get the thermostat out.
Agree.
As well.
Send. Full send. There we go. Unplug the injection rotor.
It's got a little hose clamp down here. Yeah, have you got that yellow flatty?
6 metre flatty. Where's the flatty I gave you earlier? It's all right, I found another one.
Is that good enough? Yeah, nice.
Good enough for me.
Well, it says loosen water pump drive belt tension, but you would do that after you've loosened the bolts.
I would think so. Can I have a hammer? Thank you, sir. A couple of light, very light love taps. It's all in a day's work, Bradley. Okay, fine. I'll just remove you with the nut. Oh, there we go, Bradley. You may take that.
There's our fan with the viscous fan hub.
Is it still feeling viscous? It's good.
Well, we haven't had any overheating issues as well. This is more just coolant spraying all over the place.
Yeah.
We'll reuse that. So we've got nuts on the fan. One of them, the stud itself is threaded out entirely with the nut. So we've just got to put that back in.
Yeah, it's all good. Fixed it. Fabuloso, young Bradley. I reckon let's get these belts off so that we can get the water pump off. We'll deal with this a bit later, and we might have to just speed run that one to get to the thermostat, which is for some reason tucked all the way behind the intake manifold.
We've just decided while we're here, we're going to replace those two belts as well. The one for the water pump and the alternator and the AC power steering, just because we already have the new belts and we may as well. We're just starting with the power steering AC belt, which has two little bolts that we've got to loosen. And then you've got to have a 10mm hex bit, which goes in and tensions the pulley.
And what did the manual say?
Counterclockwise
To tension. Okay, well they're loose. Take them out.
The belt's
type
loose,
of,
yeah, I can feel it.
What the heck? Okay.
Cool. We'll be using the hex bit to tension the belt.
Great, that's one belt.
Cool.
Daco.
950, hopefully.
Yep.
Perfect, so that's a 4PK 950. The other one's a 4PK 835.
Yeah, and then to loosen that guy.
We just need to loosen the alternator bolts.
So this one is also, what, a 12er? Yeah, 12mm socket. Beauty. Loosen this. That allows the alternator to rock back and forth, but there would also be a pivot bolt at the bottom, if I'm not mistaken, young Bradley. I think I can see one. Yep. So then the alternator-matron rocks upwards, which releases the tension on this guy. There we are. Oh. Do we have this belt?
Yeah.
What's this puppy? This one's the...
4PK 835.
Correct.
Yep.
Ding, ding, ding. This one's actually in good condition.
We agreed that we're going to replace them because it's going to be much easier to do that now while the radiator's out than to try and replace them another time. Yep, so we have the water pump pulley. We'll put that off to the side.
That spins way easier than the new one. Handily, it also uses a 12.
Luca,
Yes?
are we meant to buy new studs for that?
Don't think so.
So you have to reuse them then?
Well, I guess so. Why are you looking at me like that?
That's not really ideal.
Well, it's what we're doing, Bradley. You looked at me like you've seen a ghost, mate.
5-bolt flange on the water pump.
And then this water pump, oddly, didn't have a gasket. It just uses a bit of silicone. It just means it's a little bit annoying to put back on, but that's all right. We will prevail. Is this one meant to be all bolts, or because there's some nuts on this?
3 bolts, 2 nuts.
And one more.
What is that smell?
I don't know. You can smell that too, eh? Whoop! Where's the pan? Got it. It's all good. No one panic.
Sounded like a river.
Don't look down. Oh, see, this one did have a gasket. So this isn't a Suzuki water pump. See, there's gasket material on here. And that's what smells.
Yeah, it is a different design to the OEM vanes, side-by-side comparison.
Feel this when it's not like super smooth. Like that's stiffer, but feel that.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? See how it feels jittery?
Yeah, the bearing's no good. Yeah, so it's a good thing we're changing it. Needed to be changed. We are going to have to reuse these 4 studs though, because the new one doesn't come with the studs, and these are not actually in stock anymore where we buy our Suzuki parts from.
Cool. Do you want to actually swap them over off camera for me,
Yeah,
please,
sure.
Bradley?
No
Thank
worries.
you, sir.
Your wish is my command.
You might want to do some mopping as
Yeah,
well.
it is this gasket that smells.
Yeah, it is, eh? All right, lads and ladettes. I'm not going to bore you with the cleaning part. I'm just going to clean this surface where the water pump would sit, nice and clean, because we're going to put RTV on the new water pump and then made it up, so we want it to be nice and clean. All right? See you in a minute. All right, so with the old water pump removed, we've cleaned up that surface. We've also transferred the studs to the new water pump, and now we're going to use a bit of gasket maker specifically for water pumps to make a bead around the perimeter there. There's a good little diagram in the field service or factory service manual, so check that out if you're not sure. But yeah, let's get that on, and then we can finger tighten the new water pump on.
Trying to give me a finest 3mm wide by 2mm above the surface bead. It's not fun stuff to work with, eh?
No.
The old RTV. This particular one, like Lucas said, is for water pumps specifically, so it's got resistance to ethylene glycol. It also says assemble immediately. You don't torque up the bolts immediately, but we need to assemble it as soon as the liquid is still wet.
What do you reckon, Brad?
We sound around the edge of the bolt holes. It's probably the thinnest area.
Yeah. So I present this up to the vehicle. Ooh, like a glove, Bradley.
Basically with this particular RTV, it says to assemble immediately, just finger tight, and then you don't torque the bolts down until an hour later.
Does give me a bit of confidence though, knowing that there's a new water pump on there. Because that old one, definitely, you could feel that bearing, it was like grabbing.
Yeah, we were just reading in the factory service manual, it says, check if the water pump is rotating smoothly, and if it's not, replace it. So that's definitely the case for the one that we took out.
Okay, well those are all finger tight. New water pump in play, beauty. So now comes probably the worst part, because for some reason Suzuki decided to jam the thermostat in here, which I don't know if you're going to be able to see it from the angle, but basically you need to get in from the back here, but you have your air manifold in the way. So it's basically in this chamber here, and there's a black cover behind here which one of the hoses goes to. So to get to that thermostat, we're going to remove this throttle body first and see whether we have enough room to work with. If not, then we'll look at removing the actual intake manifold and everything, but that is bigger than Ben-Hur, Bradley. So let's start with this first and see how we go.
Sounds good. So what are you doing there, Luca?
I have no idea. No, there's a bunch of hoses that go into the top of the throttle body. Basically, yeah, loosening and unplugging those, yeah. Can you do me a favour? Can you undo this?
The negative?
The negative, yeah. Yeah, that would work.
Very reliable wing nut.
Okay, well, I'm gonna start removing things. There's plugs galore. Why was this built so difficult? Why was it built at all? May I please have a pick?
I'll do the hard bit.
Yeah, thanks.
I mean,
Love
it's
your
still
work.
connected to
Yeah, but that's
the
all right.
cable.
Yeah, that's okay. Just pop that over to the back. And then we do have that lower hose as well, but I'm looking at that going, holy moly. I reckon we remove the alternator to get to that. Man, this would be so labor intensive.
I love how you're just using the airbox as a nice little storage bin here. Lovely.
Who, like, why? Why would you put it in that location, folks?
Do you want me to have a look from underneath and see, or do we just pull the alternator out
I think
now?
pull the alternator. Let's do the alternator.
So we've just got an 8mm male hex bit there.
Loosening off the pivot bolt at the bottom to be able to remove the alternator because it's in the way of doing the thermostat. In theoreticals, yeah, there we go. All right.
But it's still clipped on.
Yeah.
Nice.
Got him.
Nice, dude.
Look, it even comes with a handy carry handle. Oh, look at that. So much room for activities. Yeah, so now I can like reach in under through here. It's really hard to see in there, but just take my word for it.
Yeah, the thermostat's just behind.
Because this is the thermostat housing.
Yeah, it's just behind that, the black section that we saw before.
Yeah.
Guys, we've just had to cut there because we can't quite get the camera in to show you what we're doing, but we've managed to get the thermostat cap off the side of the engine, and there's a hose underneath that we're going to replace, and another hose just above it as well. So we managed to get both of them off, and we've got the thermostat out, which is going to go in the bin. We've got the new thermostat here, so there's the Suzuki part number. What we're going to do quickly first in the kitchen is just show you how to test the thermostat before we install it. So when you open up the thermostat, you'll see that it says on it 82 degrees. So what that means is that it should start to open up and let coolant or water flow through at that temperature. So I'm just going to put some water in a pot over here. You can see right now that the thermostat's in the closed position, which means that when it's installed in the car, it's going to stay closed until the coolant heats up and it starts to let it flow through. And when we put it in the water, we're going to use a thermometer just to check and verify that it does start to open up at that 82 degrees. So I've just got myself a cooking thermometer here. So I'm going to put my thermostat in the water. So I've just got the water heating up. We're at about 70 degrees at the moment. And it's this rubber seal just here, which is currently contacting the face. That's going to start to come away, hopefully once we get to about 82 degrees. All right, we're steadily climbing. We're at 80 degrees now. We're at 82 degrees now, so it should start to move shortly. You can see some air bubbles coming through there where the seal started to open up. It is open a fair bit now. I'm just going to turn the thermostat over just so you can see it a bit easier. So you can see the gap in the thermostat there where that black rubber seal, this one here, has moved away from the face, and that's now going to be allowing coolant to flow through. So you can see now that the seal's fully open. So when you first start your car and it's cold, this is closed, which blocks the flow of coolant and it allows it to warm up. And once it gets to operating temperature, this opens and keeps your engine at a consistent temperature while you're driving around. She works. Back to the garage. Just don't tell your wife about this. Look how open that is. You can see that quite well from that angle. Med rare, just the way I like it.
Okay, so with Bradley's lovely explanation out of the way, now I can actually get to putting everything back together. So first things first, new thermostat's going to go in. This little jiggle pin is at 12 o'clock or facing up, and then this housing has a little marking here which also faces up, but this can only go in one way, so that's obvious. So these will go in like this, and then the screws will go in, and I'll attach this lower hose down the bottom. I'm just explaining this here because you're not going to be able to see that very well in the engine bay because it's very tight. So Bradley, let's jump into it. So first thing, I'm going to put this guy in, the new thermostat. That one goes down in there. With putting this one back in, I'm going to put a little bit of rubber grease on the lower fitting so that this slides on easier, because otherwise it's going to be an absolute you know what.
Why are we using rubber grease, Luca?
Well, I just like it. You don't want to go overboard because you don't want this stuff going in the cooling system, but...
Yep, so we're putting rubber grease on the male barb that the hose is going to slide onto. And we're doing that with rubber grease because if you use normal petroleum grease, it can damage the hose.
See,
rubber grease is safe with rubber.
Bradley's here for those lovely explanations. This orientation, hose on the bottom barb. Let's go.
Luca is struggling with this particular hose because it goes down through an engine mount, which makes it very difficult to get off. That's why we didn't show removing the other one.
And on.
And yeah, putting the new one on, even with the rubber grease, is proving a bit difficult.
Oh, look at that. I got it, I got it. Nobody panic. Everything is as it should be.
Yep, so we've got the jiggle pin at about 12 o'clock, lining up with the marking at the top of the thermostat cap. Just while you're there, Luca, would you mind just showing us that hose that you changed off camera?
Absolutely.
It was a bit too hard to film because of where it is.
This one here that looks new. So there's a clip at each end. So we had to basically bring the clips to the middle, and then I just cut the hose to get the old one off, because otherwise it's the distance between the two barbs is too short. So it's really hard to get off, especially with an old hose, which is all brittle and hard. What are these?
We've got our three thermostat cap bolts.
Yep.
To go back in. We've just cleaned those bolts up off camera. We like to use a little brass wire brush. Works quite well for cleaning the threads. You can buy them for like a 10 pack on Amazon. We've cleaned up all the parts. So for example, the overflow bottle needed a fair bit of cleaning. You can use a bit of dishwashing detergent, wash it around inside, try and get a brush in there. Carby cleaner works quite well as well. It's a bit more aggressive. And then we also just cleaned up all the other parts that we removed, like the radiator shroud, etc. And for that, you can use a pressure washer. Works quite well.
Torque wrench.
Yep.
This. Look at this cute little thing you got, eh?
So we're looking for 8 foot-pounds, 11 Newton meters for these ones. So it's not much. It's a 1/4 inch torque wrench on the 10mm socket.
Torqued. Cool. Dunzo. All right, now just put coolant in and it's good. Bradley, would you be so kind as to get me the throttle body bolts? There is actually, you know what I figured out, there's a gasket between here, but it's in good condition though.
Yeah, okay. So we're not just removing it. We're not doing the gasket delete mod.
No, no. Wouldn't recommend it on this one. Now there's a whole bunch of other stuff to plug and play. It's good though because they're only kind of as long as they need to be, so it's kind of obvious where they go. 2 hoses, one at the front here, which goes on this little barb towards the front of the car just behind the water pump. Again, that has a little clip that you've got to push down. And then there's a hose just here on the side at the top. And then there's another clip that's like perfectly dangling right where it needs to go. That goes into the side of the throttle body. Oh, that click is so nice. Did you hear that? Oh, right. So there doesn't appear to be a torque spec available for these throttle body bolts. So we're just going to nip them down in a crisscross pattern. There is a gasket underneath, so it should be okay.
Just a 12mm socket, eh?
It is indeed.
What's next?
Right, next I'm going to put on the lower radiator hose because that's underneath the alternator, so it's a pain to get to. So it goes on this barb here down the bottom, so you can kind of see how this is going to sit.
We have tried to clean that up a bit, but there's a bit of corrosion on there, but that's all right.
Yeah, so using this stuff again, only the goodest of stuff for this car.
We've got a Gates radiator hose, an aftermarket part for this one, just because the Suzuki one was out of stock and we ordered them.
So we put our clips on pre-clipped, and they have this little tongue, so you can just take that off once this goes into position, and then that clamps down, which is nice and handy. So basically I've got the clip roughly where it's going to be when it's on the barb, and then I'm going to put it on in that orientation and push it, all right? That way I get over the lip and my clip's in the right spot.
Right, do you want to pull the red cap off that hose clamp?
I'd love to.
Locked.
Yep.
Got it?
Yep, yeah, I don't know where it went, but yeah. Here's one I prepared earlier. Pivot bolt goes in here. So I'm going to lower this guy down from the top. Align it. So this bracket basically has a slot on it so that you can move the alternator up and down, and that's what allows you to tension the belt. So I'm just going to put the bolt at the top and just have it loose so that it'll hold the weight of the alternator, but it'll still allow it to move like that so we can put the belts on. So eventually when it's tight, it'll be somewhere here, and you'll tighten that, and then the belt will have a nice tension on it. So this one here, that goes on there.
Yeah, so just onto the stud at the back of the alternator.
Yeah. All right, so 10mm, just tightening that up. Just snug, you don't need to really reef on that. That has a little spring washer on it, so.
And then just the rubber cover over the connector.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. Cool, like that. And then there's this little clip or electrical connector, which I should have probably plugged in first, but that would be way too smart. Oh, I've proper snookered myself, Bradley. Okay, and with the magic of television, I'm gonna click my fingers and the plug will be in. 1, 2, 3. Rightio. So with that connector back through the magic, we're now going to put the belt, pulley and the fan back on. That's the belt we're going to put on. So that 4PK835 number is the generic number that you can get if you go to Repco or Super Cheap Auto and you want to buy a different brand of belt, but we got the Suzuki one. So this is the water pump pulley. Goes with this fatter side facing the front so that the pulley aligns with the alternator and the back of the crankshaft. Okay. Okay. You'll have to bring the alternator all the way up to be able to fit the belt on. If I use this lock nut just to hold the alternator there for me, it'll make it easier. Something like that.
So Luke is just going to put the belt on loose around the crankshaft, the water pump and the alternator before we put the fan back on, so that we don't have to try and put the belt over the fan. So the crankshaft pulley at the bottom's got an inner and an outer pulley, and we want the inner one, the one closer to the engine. It will stretch when it's running.
I'm going to put the second belt on. It's going to be easier to do that with the fan not in the way. So can I have the other belt?
So this is the power steering and air conditioning belt, which is a 4PK950. There's the Suzuki part number there.
Thank you, gentlemen.
So this one's going around the crankshaft, the outer pulley on that. Power steering pulley, the aircon pulley, and there's a tensioning idler pulley as well. So there's that idler and tensioning pulley for the AC and power steering pump belt. So it's got a pivot bolt, sort of similar to the alternator at the bottom, and it's got a lock bolt which goes in this channel. And you use a 10mm hex bit on a socket. You put it in that hole, and that then allows you to rotate this pulley, which moves it across and puts tension on the belt, and then you lock it in that position. It's going to be a bit hard to show you that on camera.
So now I'm going to try and attempt to get that back on. Yeah, so definitely take this off. Way easier, and then
figuring out as we go.
Those belts are nice on the pulleys. Put this little nut back on. So this, just thinking out loud here. Yeah, so pushing that down puts tension on that belt. You don't want your belts to be too tight because that puts stress on the bearings.
Look, if you're happy there's enough belt tension on, then...
Feel it, I think so, yeah. Classic twist, feels firm, but they both get tightened, right? One is effectively the pivot bolt.
The pivot bolt and the locking bolt both get tightened, yeah.
Yeah. So that slots onto the 4 little studs that are in the water pump. Sits on like so.
So we're just going to use the little ratcheting spanner on these ones. There is a torque spec, 8 foot-pounds, 11 Newton-meters, but we're not going to get a socket on there.
Not a chance.
For the torque wrench, so...
But it gives you an idea, I suppose, like...
Yeah.
The reason you hold the screwdriver because the whole thing turns, so you probably have to go around a few times because as you tighten one, the others loosen.
You could put the belt under tension and then it probably wouldn't turn.
Yes.
You know, then you can't get to them all, so this is probably a good compromise.
Right, so quick explanation here. Normally to tension this belt, you would push this alternator down, and then this travel here in this bracket is what gives you that basically slop or play and allows you to get more tension. But we're right at the top of that travel, and this has the right amount of tension in it, so I'm just going to torque this bolt down now, and that's to 17 foot-pounds. And then once I've done that one, I'm going to tighten the lower pivot bolt, and that one, Bradley, is how many?
The pivot bolt is 36 foot-pounds.
Lovely. So this one's 17 of feet's finest pounds. Beautiful. Pivot bolt takes a hex.
8mm hex, yep.
Oh, I can rest my head for a second. Oh, that's good. Oh, it's nice and cool too. Don't start the engine. If I'm tightening the right bolt, I have no idea what I'm tightening. Oh. Righto, so here's our new radiator. So before I put it down there, I'm just gonna prep a couple of things. I'm gonna take these little barb covers off. That's for the transmission cooler lines. And because it's gonna be a little bit tricky to get to when it's underneath, I'm gonna put a bit of grease on this barb here so that that lower radiator hose can go on. Same little rubber grease, not heaps, just enough to help get that hose on. Ideally you do this with gloves on, but...
Do you want to put a little bit on the ATF lines as well?
Oh, I could probably do such a thing, yeah.
As well.
Just a little bit. I'll put less.
You can buy new rubber bushers for the bottom of the radiator as well, but they were out of stock, so we've just grabbed the 2 off the bottom of the other radiator and we're going to reuse those. They're just kind of like a little cushion that goes underneath. Just lift that up, just goes on the corners like so.
Okay, so that's ready to go. I'm going to give that back to Brad. This cowl goes like this. Okay, good. It'll only really go one way, so... Just kind of gently lower it down, like so.
Probably worth mentioning that's a Koyorad. We bought a sort of high quality aftermarket one. Doesn't come with a radiator cap, so we purchased that separately, Suzuki one. I think if you buy a Suzuki radiator, you actually get a radiator cap with it. So.
Oh, that's good value. And I'm just going to lightly, gently.
It's just that barb, that drain plug gets caught up as well on the bottom right. I remember that from when we were taking it out.
Lower that. Oh man, this clip.
Oh, are you trying to do the lower radiator hose at the moment?
Yeah, well, you kind of have to get the lower mount in.
While Luke is messing around down the bottom, trying to put the lower radiator hose back on, I'm just going to put the overflow bottle back in over here. Slides down over a little clip on the engine bay. We will fill that up in a bit. And then that just slides on to the top of the radiator.
Does it? Does it just slide on just like that?
Straight on.
Just as easily as my one's sliding on. Far out, mate.
Exactly. So what's happening, Luca?
We mounted the radiator in those rubber mounts at the bottom. You tightened the little shroud bolts at the bottom using a 10mm. Now we're going to tighten up the stuff at the top and put this final hose on. The good thing with the grease as well is it will help prevent further corrosion. Should we do the same trick I did before, where the clamp is basically where it needs to go? Well, actually, the clamps are the right size for this hose. So I reckon what's happened is that aftermarket hose we got is thicker.
Yeah, I think so.
Than the Suzuki's.
So it's tight.
Yeah, that actually made it significantly harder than it had to be. So recommendation, folks, would be get the Suzuki hoses. Even though Gates is a good brand, but still, it was
Suzuki hoses were pretty affordable too.
This one goes up here. Oh, love when it goes on easily. Safety glasses on.
These Suzuki hose clamps just come with that little red retaining clip. So you pop that off and then the clip goes tight basically.
Right, 10 mil, tighten all these 4. So 2 for the shroud, 2 for the actual radiator that hold the radiator down.
Yeah, just nip them up because they're in plastic.
Yep.
So.
And then these 2 side ones. Now these side ones we actually, I don't know where those screws even went, I think we put them in the bin, but they had 2 little screw type things that were in the side. We replaced it with a bolt because the threads were absolutely chewed.
These were no good, so we got new bolts there that we've used.
Yeah, so now everything's nice. This is nice and firm, feels good. Now one thing to check before you go too far, make sure that your fan rotates without hitting the shroud because that would suck a lot.
Are we good?
We're good, but we should probably get some cable ties for this.
That looks like it was held down, but the clip has broken.
Correct.
Yeah.
Clamp. You just put it on the taped bit.
Yep. We won't go too tight with it either.
Yeah. I don't love that, to be honest, but just over the many hundreds of kilometres that this car will do in its lifetime, that'll rub through.
It's not the best, but it's going to get the job done for now.
Yeah. We'll get a new bit of this tubing and we'll sleeve it all the way and it'll tidy it up nicely. But for now, that'll do. All right. Can I have a second one, actually? Because I'll do this corner as well.
New air filter, just because we can. Dirty and clean.
New air filter going in. Well, I may as well put this on, eh? Seat that down. Oh, get those clips back on. MAF sensor plug. Again. Oh, the click. No more Mr. Nice Guy. Oh, there we go. Okay, so I just had it way too tight. And then this side goes onto the top of the throttle body. This tube goes back into the top, like so.
I've got that one, if you want to do
You've got that one. Tighten all your clamps. Of course it's not a Phillips. You absolute... These don't have to be super tight. Just nip them up again, just so that that hose is nice and firm. And then at this point, again, it's a good idea just to have a bit of a look around, make sure there's no loose clips, make sure the hoses are on, you've put all your hose clamps on properly.
So you can see here where we've got the new radiator bushes down into the mountings on the car, and we've just got to get our ATF lines that we removed before and put them onto these barbs. While we were doing everything else, we just tied them up with some fishing line because if we keep them down, they flow ATF out onto the floor. So got to be a bit careful here because ATF's going to start coming out when I cut this. So I'll cut the fishing line there. Got my paper towel ready to go when this inevitably goes on me. All right, so there's the first hose.
Just keep it up, right? Oh, there she goes.
There you go.
Flick it all over the camera, yeah, good.
Yeah, there you go. So that's why I had the drain pan here. I'm doing this from a very awkward angle, by the way.
And preferably sometime in this century. There we go. Nice and slow.
I did put a bit of rubber grease on these earlier.
You're just pushing the pan right towards it.
Sorry about that. There you go. It was a bit necessary there for a while. Give that a good old wipe. Beautiful.
Can you imagine if they were all that easy? We would have been done days ago.
That would just be tremendous. All right, I'm just going to try and just sleight of hand this one, all right? It's just going to go straight on the barb without anything going on the floor. 3, 2, 1.
3, 2, 1.
Nothing at all. Yeah, look, that should be good, I reckon.
Should be or will be?
Will be good. Personal guarantee.
Yeah, just wipe all of that up.
I'll just get some of the engine oil over here as well.
Yeah, that would be good, actually.
While we're here.
Can you get some of the spiders as well? That would also be
There
good.
are a few different families of spiders breeding in the engine bay. All right, sweet. Should we go and fill her up?
Yes, please.
All right, guys, we're nearly there.
Stay with us.
System capacity is 5.9 litres empty, so we've got ourselves a conveniently sized 6 litre coolant. The spec is Suzuki Super Blue, which we don't have, so we're using Newlon premixed blue coolant. So I'm going to start by filling the overflow bottle just up to the full line.
And you're not going to spill any anywhere.
I'm not going to spill any, that's why I've got paper towel ready to go. Oh, he's good, ladies and gentlemen. All that experience from adding engine oil to my cruiser is paying dividends right now, I'll tell you what. All right, that's on the full line. I'll just pop that back in and that just clips on. Can you just let me know if you see any coming out the top? I'm pouring on the side like this just because it helps you not get any glugging and it pours smoothly. Just a handy tip.
While you're doing that, might just shine the old light underneath.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, make sure it's not going straight on the floor.
Look, there is something dripping, but I think it's ATF. The ATF is blue, right?
Is there actually anything on the floor?
No.
I'm getting some bubbles out, which is good. That's what you want. All right, that's stopped bubbling now, and it's sort of starting to back up in the funnel. So we're going to need to start the car at this point to bleed the system and get the air out. Before we do that though, do you reckon we put a bit of ATF in? Because we definitely lost some on the floor. Maybe we just add in a couple 100 mil, something like that. Can you just check if my mic's working? Mic test, mic test. Your mum.
Sorry, I didn't get that last bit.
Your mum.
Yeah.
So I've just added a few 100 mils of ATF through the dipstick hole. I'll let you do the honours, Luca. We're just going to start the car with the radiator cap off. Radiator cap's off, so you might get a little bit of spillage here, but our funnel should catch that hopefully.
Is everything free of the moving parts?
Great question. I think we're sound. If you hear me scream, obviously turn it off.
Okay.
Ready, steady, cook. First time, every time. All right, so what we're looking for here is air bubbles coming out the top of the radiator as it circulates, but we're gonna have to wait a little while because the thermostat's gonna be closed. So I'm looking for bubbles here. Haven't seen any yet, but as the bubbles come out and the air comes out of the coolant system, then there's more room for coolant and we'll be able to put more in.
Do you want to just quickly have a look underneath, make sure nothing's leaking?
Yeah, good point. I'll check for leaks.
What is all that? Don't look at me like that. Find where it's leaking.
That'll just be coolant, I think, that spilled out the top. Hopefully. I think we're good so far.
This is man operating at his absolute limit.
I'm getting old, all right? There's no coolant pumping around the system until the thermostat opens up, like we saw in the kitchen. So we're basically just waiting for the engine to get to operating temperature before it starts really pumping those bubbles out.
As you can tell, this job took it out of us.
We sound like no energy at all. We need to lift.
That is how you do a cooling system on a Jimny. They know that we've just poured our heart and soul the last 3.5 months doing this coolant system.
I mean, you did move house.
Well, true.
During that.
Yeah, that's why we look different. We've aged.
I have had a haircut as well. Ate a fair bit of ham at Christmas. The pants are a little bit tight now. So we took her for a spin, got up to operating temperature. Everything looked good. We can't see any leaks. We did have an engine light come on the dash, we should mention, but 3 different engine codes actually for 3 different sensors. That was probably just because we'd removed them as part of this job and we had the battery out of the car as well at one point. So yeah, we cleared the codes and they went away. They haven't come back, which is great. We checked the overflow bottle as well. Once we had the radiator cap on and we went for a drive, it hasn't sucked any out of there. It's at the same level. So the radiator seems to be full and it seems to be staying where it is.
And we'll just monitor that over time, see if we need to add anything, but for now it's all good. Next jobs will probably be the...
What's next, Luca?
Next will be the rocker cover gasket.
What do you reckon we're doing next, Luca?
The rocker cover gasket. I'll get there in the end.
Because we've got a fair bit of oil leaking out of there. I know you cleaned it up before we did this video, but yeah, it's normally pretty bad. And then also we still have the transmission leak as well. So we did just dip the transmission. It is a little bit fuller than it should be, but that's fine because it's going to leak out a little bit, but we do need to look at that seal.
Yeah, that's going to be a box out job. So I reckon we're going to need probably more than a day for that one, but...
And we should probably change this power steering fluid as well. Give that a flush.
Yep.
Maybe change some hoses. We can have a look at that. Jimny restoration continues.
As always, stay tuned because there will be more and we will see you in the next episode.
Thanks for watching.
Bye, friends.